So, welcome to another episode of UndocuStartup Yearly, where I share the biggest lessons that I've been learning on a year by year basis, building the #1 entrepreneurship program for undocumented students under my company, UndocuStartup. If you're an Undocu student liaison and you want to bring my entrepreneurship programs to your campus, visit www.undocustartup.com. Again, that is www.undocustartup.com.
Welcome to UndocuStartup by Juan Maya Hernandez.
So, lesson number one is to hire based on skill, not feeling, or to give opportunities to other people. I had this assistant contracted position that I was hiring for, just a contractor role. And I posted it on social media. I advertised it, posted it on TikTok, whatever. Received 40 applicants, right? And I was like, interview them. I had my list of 5. And then when it came down to it, I asked myself, who more likely needs this opportunity? One was a student, one was a business owner within the community. And I don't know why I thought that a student needed this more. They were going to work a little bit harder. They had opportunity. They had different skills. And that was a big mistake. That was a big mistake that I made because she ended up quitting. She quit, literally. She quit within the first week. She couldn't do it. We had a task. I mentioned to her that the first week is just probational period. We can test if this is something that she enjoys. And she quit 3-4 days in. She said she wasn't able to handle it and whatnot. Is not her fault. It's my fault for choosing her, right? So I take full responsibility. And the way that I solved it was I reached out to the second person that my gut feeling was telling me to hire this person. Reached out to her and thankfully she accepted it. But it came down to making this mistake of hiring people based on giving them opportunity. I should stop doing that. Before is my second time I did this. And it ended up not working out because she quit. And it left me in a position where I have goals to achieve. I want to reach out to this many people. Just a quick takeaway from this is never go with the people that you feel need the opportunity. Go with the people that are going to get the work done, especially if you're a founder, one-person team. That's currently where I'm at right now. And that is my plan moving forward. Lesson number 2 is using debt is not as bad as long as it's strategic, right? During this year, I had cash flow problems. We had around 2 weeks that I wasn't making any revenue and I had bills to pay within those 2 weeks. And I started thinking of solutions. Maybe I can borrow money from this. Maybe I can sell this. Maybe I can do this. Eventually, I came to the consensus, why don't I just use my credit card and I have about a month to pay it? And obviously, you're going to be strategic, right? So I knew that my checks were going to come within the next 2 weeks. So I needed to pull through during that little time. And I used it strategically. I also used it to hire my contractor in the time that I didn't have enough cash flow. So again, if you're using it sort of like a bridge, it's a great strategy to move forward. And like that, you don't rely on other people. I could have asked different people, maybe friends, family for money, but that I ended up not doing that. So I just went with my credit card and I said, you know what, if I can pass these 2 weeks, then I'm in a better position anyway. So that's something that I learned there. So using debt is not as bad as long as it's strategic. And I remember that even during the previous weekly lesson was, and I read this on this book, The 38 Letters of J.D. Rockefeller. He says that you get a greater return investing $100 than investing $1. And that is just facts, right? So I'll leave it there in lesson number 2. And again, I used this because I had cash flow problems, but I used the money not for random things. I used the money for groceries, used the money for bills, used the money to help me fund my next contractor, and it ended up helping me that way. Now, will we see a return on investment with the contractor? We'll see. But really, I'm just trying to learn as much as I can at the moment. Lesson number 3 is to choose what you give your energy and time to. Right? Your time is sacred as a founder. You're trying to build this company. For me, I want to build this whole category of entrepreneurship. So that means that you get to choose what events to attend. You get to choose what clients to work with. So be strategic with that. Whenever you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to another, right? And ultimately, you're the one that gets to decide that. So that's lesson number 3. So just choose what you want to give your energy to. You don't have to do any free stuff if you don't want to. You don't have to lower your standards for anything if you don't want to. You get to choose that. So that's lesson number 3. Lesson number 4 is to maintain before increasing. All right. So every single year, I keep track of the week by week tasks that I am able to complete. and it allows me to have a certain graph. Now my graph looked a little like this, where some weeks I was hitting my goals, other weeks I wasn't. So I had a 0 task week, I had a 70% task week, so meaning that I fulfilled 70% of those tasks. So one of the reasons why this was happening was because I kept changing the goal on a week by week basis, even if I hadn't hit that goal the previous week, right? So now, one thing that I'm taking into year number 4 is that I want to just focus on maintaining my goals, not add any other things that are not part of my goals before I begin to create a bigger mountain to climb. Consistency is the key, right? I want to at least make sure that my tasks are pretty consistent. 70-80% of my tasks need to be completed because there is a direct impact in the revenue, right? So that's another lesson there. So just hit your goals first that you set at the beginning. And then once that time period passes, then you can start increasing it. So that's lesson number 4. Lesson number 5 is measuring success backward. And this helps whenever you're feeling depressed around your business, whenever you're feeling depressed on, hey, maybe I'm not making progress with my company. And I hit this roadblock many times over the course of building this business. And one of the things that ended up helping me is just looking backwards, measuring success backwards, right? So there was a point in time when I graduated UCLA, I said, if I can do my business full time, that would be the dream. Now that I've been doing it full time last year, and this is going to be my second year, I have a new dream, right? But I've come so far right now. From year number in 2023, I was offering 4 services. 2024, I was offering about 3 services. And right now I'm really focused on the bootcamp, and I want to continue just building upon that foundation nonetheless. So, and that allows me to continue to get motivated, right? Instead of looking at, there's this ideal version of me that I haven't achieved yet. Why don't I look at what have I achieved and how is this going to help me move forward, right? So again, whenever you're feeling negative, whenever you're having any sort of depression about your company, if it's working out or not, just look at what have you done in the past to get to where you're currently at right now, right? So that's lesson number 5. Lesson number 6 is make it defensible. What does this mean? I follow all of my clients. I follow everything that's happening within the community. I look at other entrepreneurship programs that are starting by different organizations, by different dream centers. And then I asked myself during this year, I was like, well, why should people even work with me if they're building their own thing? And that leads me to what are some of the ways that I can make my process, my frameworks more defensible. And that leads me to I can trademark my brand, right? If you guys ever see the TM symbol on UndocuStartup, is because I'm in the process of trademarking it. This allows me to keep full control of my own brand. And if somebody ever decides to copy the names, copy certain things, then I'm able to do that. Then I'm able to contact them and let them know, okay, I'm happy to collaborate, but this is the brand. The other thing is my frameworks, right? So I have a 6-step framework that I uniquely use with all the students. And that's not something that people can just copy, right? So I'm considering ways on how can I make that more IP? How can I make that more around UndocuStartup? I have a few ideas on that. This is great news, right? Because if people are hopping on, it means that there's a true market within the space, and what I'm building is extremely useful, and I'm happy for that. But I've always said that I want to be number 1. That's the goal. I want to be, whenever people think of entrepreneurship, they think of Startup. That is the goal and whatnot. So that's lesson number 6. Try to find ways to make your business defensible moving forward. Lesson number 7 is to make templates for every objection / case scenario for clients, right? So different clients have different budgets. Are there different offers that I can offer them? So having a price list is not something that I currently have. That's something I can work on year number 4. The next one is having different templates. Remember, I mentioned my frameworks. If I eventually want to hire somebody to run programs on my behalf, then I would need to start working towards that. I need to start documenting things that I can systemize, and that's definitely in the plans. But I think having templates will save me a lot of time, right? Templates in my Trello board as I am running the operation of the program, right? Templates for the different certificates, templates for the scripts, all that stuff would be extremely useful for me as I am moving forward. Now, lesson number 8 is to make it easier for a client to say yes. I've had one client say no because they didn't want to use the word undocumented, and I say that's totally fine. How can we figure that out? We can name it something else. That's okay. Now we can change the wording. That's fine. And the other thing was I had a client not move forward because they didn't have the budget. And I've always made this clear, right? Like, you'd either be the cheapest option, you could be the most expensive option. But in this moment, when this happened, I started thinking about how can I just work with them? Because at the end of the day, I'm still proving myself. I'm still trying to build credibility. I'm still trying to get Undocumented Startup in every single university that I can. So I offered to do it for free. Now, have I done this before? I have done this before in the past. And with my goal of being number one, I need to get as much reps as possible. So I guess the biggest takeaway here is just reduce the friction that so you can start working with people. For me, let's think about maybe working with their budget. Let's think about maybe offering a program for free and then they fund the pitch competition. And this is just going to help me build the brand. It's going to help me build credibility. And it should make it easier for me to work with more people in next year. Lesson number 8 is to give things time, right? My current business model is I get paid per one project. I've started to think about other business models, but I also haven't taken this business model to the next level where I'm doing this consistently. I'm reaching out to more people, similar clients in other places. And that's something that I want to continue doing. The other thing I've learned is that things compound, right? By giving it time, things just become easier. I remember in 2023, when I first started doing this, I was doing it part-time, right? And it took a lot of effort to try to start conversations because I would cold email people. There was no credibility. No one knew who I was. And then in year number 2, it became a little bit easier. And now this previous year, it's even gotten easier, right? So the revenue that it took me, so it would take me 12 months to make the revenue that I made in the first quarter of this year. So again, things take time, be patient, everything compounds. And that's what I'm starting to see. People started reaching out to me. People started like, hey, I want to bring this to my campus. How can I do it? And that's really what we want to continue doing, but we want to do it at scale and do it more. But biggest takeaway here is just give it time for people to reach out to you. Give it time for your brand to get to a certain level where you can start having way more conversations and eventually things are going to work out. At least that is what I'm thinking right now. Lesson number 10 is that's to sacrifice when necessary and have faith, right? I mentioned this during a weekly episode. I sacrifice eating for 10 hours so that I can get home on time when I only had $120 to my name for the business, right? I traveled 5 hours. I needed gas money, traveled 5 hours, did a presentation, came back another 5 hours in the same day, no hotel, no nothing. I learned that I had to sacrifice during that moment. So I don't go into depth. I could always eat at home. There was some food at home. So I said, you know what, let's just sacrifice there. And the second thing is to have faith, right? Having faith, definitely different when you want to have faith in times of chaos, right? So when I only had that $100, I started there was more reasons to stop believing in the company, to stop believing in UndocuStartup, that this could be another, and that I could actually build this platform, build this ecosystem. But again, eventually things work out. Eventually, when bad things happen, the only way back up is just to go up and just having that positivity that somehow, as long as I don't give up, as long as I continue posting content, as long as I continue putting myself out there, as long as I continue showing the use cases of these students that build their companies, I think that we're in a really good position. But definitely faith has been something really important during this year as well. And then the last lesson is that just because it worked once, no, the last lesson, lesson number 11, is that it worked once, do it again. I landed my first contract this year, yearly client, so I don't have to chase them next year. And I was really happy because it was a really big contract for me based on what I've done in the past. But it's also my first new offer in terms of now we're going to do this more than one time over the course of a year, see how we can do this. And the way that I got here is like I looked at last year, how much money did they spend on me? So that they spend on my services, right? So by looking at that, then I was able to create an offer where now I work with them over the years. So I guess biggest takeaway here is if you have a list of your clients and you can look at the amount of revenue that they invested into you last year or the last few months, then it's going to give you opportunity to look at different offers for those clients so you can work with them longer. So again, those were the 11 lessons during year number 3 building my company. So let's just go over them really quickly. Lesson number 1 is hire based on skill, not feeling. Lesson number 2, using debt is not bad as long as it's strategic. If you're using it for cash flow, it's a great opportunity. Number 3 is choose what you give your energy and time to. Number 4 is maintain consistency before increasing. Number 5, measure success backward. Number 6, make it defensible. So having your own IP, maybe trademarking your brand. Number 7, make templates for every objection, ads and sales, or for every case scenario for clients, having a price list, templates. Number 8, make it easier for a client to say yes to you. So maybe creating a lower offer, maybe offering it for free. Number 9, give it time. Number 10, sacrifice when necessary and have faith. And number 11, it worked once, so now do it again. And that's just in correlation to my yearly contract that I landed with this client. Now, I want to end this episode by asking a few questions for year number 4. So let's start there. The questions that I have for year number 4. Number 1, does consistency lead to more revenue? My goal here is that 10 out of 12 weeks, I hit at least 70% of my tasks completed for that week. And based on previous information that I've tracked, I found that the more that whenever I work more, the more I hit my goals, the more revenue I should make. So we're gonna figure that out in this new year. Lesson number 2. This question is: does a part-time fix help with the long-term goals in the process of looking for a part-time role? And I want to see if this is going to help me with the revenues, if it's going to help me with cash flow. And I'm open to that. I'm currently interviewing with a few roles. We're going to see how that ends up happening. Question number 3 is: are more people finding the brand? People make appointments with me because I had a few. I want to include something that says, like, how are people finding this? If everybody's coming from social media, then I just need to double down on that, make the content better. I invested in a new AI tool to help me do thumbnails. So we're going to see how that moves forward. Question number 4 is: does an event lead to new client conversations? I'm hosting the pitch competition via Twitch, via Zoom on November 29th. If y'all can make it, definitely make it. But I want to figure out if that event alone can lead me to new client conversations at different cities, other places where I've been wanting to go. Next question is: what is the best way to document the brand slash? Right now I'm going live on TikTok. I'm thinking about going live a little bit more about, the scenes, different blogs, maybe interviewing entrepreneurs that we work with. So those are some ideas there. And then the last question that I am asking is: will creating my own templates or creating the IP help with future revenue streams? So future revenue streams, we're looking at potentially licensing, potentially franchising, but that is going all the way into 2027, 2028, 2029. But I think just putting everything into templates, keeping track of all the IP should get us in a better position to do that. All right. So that's being said, everyone, thank you all so much for joining this UndocuStartup yearly episode. I'm going to continue sharing these lessons. But remember, be motivated and stay motivated, baby. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Welcome to UndocuStartup by Juan Maya Hernandez.